Hello everybody, Chris here, and today I wanted to talk about app.roll20.net and making a map within it for a role-playing game that you may or may not want to play in the future with people online, which is basically what you do in Roll20. So right here I have a 25 by 25 spaced grid, and I'm going to make a relatively simple floor 1 for a tower. Of course, it won't be the most realistic thing ever, but it'll get the job done. So the main tool you want to use is probably going to be polygon/line, which allows you to create straight lines as if you were in Photoshop or another tool like that on the map. And you can put it in whatever layer you want, but you should generally put map-related things in the map and background layer. That's pretty self-explanatory. So here we'll kind of go and try to draw the outside perimeter of the tower. And I'm going to try to leave gaps open for where I might put a doorway or that kind of thing. You don't necessarily have to. You could easily drag and drop a door token over it and it would be fine. But yeah, that's just kind of a preference for me. So the tower should be probably a little bit circular, but maybe not perfectly. Let's make like a hexagon here. So here we go. Go there. And I'm just left clicking where I want the main points to be. This looks roughly correct. I'm not going to be precise. I don't need everything to be perfectly symmetrical. Okay, and let's go down here. Or do I? Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So down 5 and over 3. No, down 5 and over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I get it? Ah, no, I was off by 1. Okay, so you can undo by hitting Control-Z. Now I gotta go over to here, just drag this all the way down to get my point, and click. Now, over here, line the points, the lines up, and we got it. Okay, so this would be like a one-door tower. Does that make sense? Maybe one outside door, but there should definitely be a second entrance. Not all that many buildings really only have one door to get in and out of. It's not only a fire hazard, but it's also just not that particularly convenient in general. Okay, so I want double doors, so to put down 3 and up 3 right here with the lines. And there we go, we have, roughly speaking, a centerpiece for a tower here. It's not the most wide, but I think that's plenty space for a typical tower. Like, this might be a rather large guard tower, actually, if you put in 3 or 4 floors. Could also be a wizard's tower, whatever you need it for. So now we're going to have double doors here, and I'm actually going to use the image search, which you can find over here. Maps and tiles is the second option on this top right menu. So we're going to want double door. Oh, I put in double and it already gives me options for doors. That's pretty convenient. And this one from Dungenie looks great. And we do want that on the map layer as well. Okay, and let's shrink this. That looks about right. Too wide, so we will cut that in half. And if I try to cut it in half without holding anything down, what happens is it'll automatically try to snap to the grid no matter what layer you're in. So what you actually have to do if you want to shrink it like horizontally here to be half a square is to hold Alt down, and then it won't snap. That also applies for placing things. So I held Alt down to cut it in half and Alt down to place it. And roughly speaking, we got ourselves a door there. Now, I don't really like tiling too much because it's kind of a pain, and then when you have diagonals, it's hard to make it look good. But you can do that if you want to make it look a little bit spicier. And I think right outside here, a 10-foot by 10-foot path could be really easy to do with a token, so we'll just do that. Let's see, stone path. Here we go. Yep. That looks like a stone path if I've ever seen one. And let me tell you, I may have seen a few in my life. Okay, Now you'll notice the door is actually behind the stone path, and that's not what we want. So we have to right click it and hit to the front. And now that actually looks correct. It looks a lot better. If we were going to say tile the inside, but we wanted to just kind of set a standard background color, we can do that. If you go to the page toolbar, hit page settings, and maybe change the color here, the color for background. Oh, no, that's the color for something else, my bad. Color for background, hit OK. And we have a green that is way too vibrant. Heck, we want pastel at most. We want to be able to see the lines, so we could do something like that. And then have actual tiles and all here, and the green would kind of represent grass. Can do that. I don't know about that, though. Normally, I just keep it white, and that's perfectly fine. So I think that's what we're going to do here. And I'm not going to tile the inside of it, because it's simpler this way. It's cleaner this way. It's just kind of how I like it. You know, you can choose for yourself whether you want to tile it or not. So now we kind of have to split up the tower itself. For one thing, it's going to need a staircase, and it's going to need a trapdoor going down. I think the staircase should be in the middle. So let's go ahead and knock out that first. And there should be some spiral staircases if I remember right. Ah. Yeah, that's a good one. Anything from Dungeonia and Cartographer's Guild that you find in this search engine is pretty darn sick, because these are specifically made from top-down perspective token maps. So we have that. It's way too big, so we'll make that maybe a 3x3. That seems right. Put it right around there. Of course, we're not going to want it to be so easy to just get to here. Or maybe we do. From, you know, there's two perspectives you have to balance. The dungeon, and I say that quote unquote, tower isn't exactly a dungeon. It's more like a guard tower. But if we're going to be putting encounters in here, how hard do we want to make it for people to actually get up the stairs? Do we want to make it so open-ended that they can just walk in the door and go up the stairs? Or do we want to have to put things in their way so they kind of have to fight to get to the boss? Now, of course, there's another way of looking at it, and the other way of looking at it, which maybe makes much more sense from a role-playing context rather than a ROLL role-playing context, is, does it make sense, like, structurally? Would anybody actually build something like this who wasn't going out of their way to just create a death trap for adventurers? And I kind of like it there. It's more centered. And the answer for that is, I think a staircase would be pretty darn accessible. And I actually, you know, I do also kind of like, from even just a gameplay perspective, the idea that, you know, players can kind of choose where they want to go first or later. I mean, they don't have to explore everything here. They can just go to the next floor if they really want to. And whatever they miss out on is their loss. Or, you know, might be a good thing for them because maybe there was a death trap that they missed. That's kind of the nature of RPGs. So we'll also put a trapdoor, and I think a trapdoor should kind of be in the back and probably hidden really well. So I'll leave this on the map layer, kind of make it a dark color. We'll put it here, kind of out of the way as well. Of course, the handle facing where people would be opening it from. Oh, maybe that isn't such a given. You could change it the other way to make it less convenient to get to. But what we'll have here is we'll just put some barrels and that kind of thing covering this so that it's hidden. It's more like a secret, but only kind of secret. Okay, and with that done, I think we can start drawing some rooms. So what should the first floor of we'll call it a guard tower here. Like a city tower. It could also be a hybrid purpose, like maybe there's a wizard's lab up top or something like that. Could be a keep for a castle or something like that. Or whatever you call the tower in a castle. I think that's called a keep. I could be wrong. Whatever. Well, they probably wouldn't be sleeping too much on the first floor. Actually, there should be a lookout post, especially if this is guard duty. So, we'll have a first room that people would kind of have to go through. and they'd have to be met with a guard who's going to be stationed on his post. So I'm thinking there's a table somewhere around here that's, you know, basically just looking right at the door. So anyone who comes through those doors is going to be seen. And a room that's not too big, because we don't want it to be... we don't want bad guys or intruders or adventurers or whoever's going to invade this tower to just be able to walk in unnoticed. So we're going to go take the pin tool now, or polygon line tool, and I'm going to create this wall here, hit escape to get out of that, and kind of make this slanted a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting. And we can do that. We'll have this go down there. That doesn't look perfect. Okay. Whenever you don't have something that looks perfect, just select it with the select move tool and hit delete. Okay, polygon. Undo. Click. Click. Okay, close enough. Then we can have another double doors here. So what we'll do is we'll just copy that door from earlier, Control C and then Control V. Hold Alt to put it exactly where we want it. And now, ooh, I have a great space for that table. Now they have to basically walk through two sets of doors, and if there's something in the way, that something is almost certainly going to notice them. That doesn't look like a guard table so much. Oh yeah, sure, we want the poker table. I'll actually go with this kind of nice radish one. Yeah, perfect. 2 squares. We'll just have it right there. Okay. Now we need a chair. You know, it's not going to be standing all day. Kind of match the, you know, this might actually be something we could put on the token layer, because chairs tend to move around a bit. So we'll do that. And now, the thing about the token layer is, you see all this map stuff? We can't mess with that while it's on the token layer, but we can move the chair. And a chair is an object that's very likely to move, so I think that's one object we could have on the token layer and it being pretty good. Of course, they won't be able to see, like when you're on the map and background layer, how it kind of takes the token layer and grays it out, because they're always basically on the token layer. Only you will be able to see how the layers differentiate themselves. So we have that chair there, and actually I like it more towards the middle of the room. So we have a guard here, in theory, looking right out here, sees everything that comes in, and we need someone to be on post basically 24/7. I was thinking we'd have a bed over there, but that doesn't actually make as much sense as I earlier thought. But we do want, you know, resources. You should be able to get up and grab stuff. So maybe we want some barrels. Sure, this one's good enough. And barrels are another thing that can go on the object token layer. And water. Or water keg, I was thinking. A barrel could just as easily represent that, but... Okay, no, a keg is what we're looking for. Maybe it's alcoholic, who knows? No, they're not being allowed alcohol on duty. That's crazy. Maybe they sneak it in. Maybe the guard captain is a bad guard captain. Who knows? You never want to make it impossible for your adventurers or your players to succeed. That's just kind of anti-fun. So, we'll have a water keg over there. These are theoretically barrels of food. And we might spice the room up with a couple more things. Maybe have like some markings on the floor for where people go through their go to be searched. So like a rug, maybe. Could be a good symbol for that. Like bear rug. Yeah. Okay, we'll have a bear rug. Bear rug should go on the map layer though, because that's... Well, should it? I don't think these things get moved too much. I could be wrong. Okay, so now whoever comes in, walks in, the guard who is undisclosed at this point has to have them stand on the rug. Now that doesn't make so much sense. It's not a tavern. Why would there be a rug like that? Maybe a floor symbol. A tile, a floor. Not a freaking pentagram. Come on. Tile. Yeah, and you might have to look through the art assets a little bit if you want to get it, perfect. The more time you invest, the better it looks, though. So it's really up to you how you want to do this. Sunfloor. There should be something like this. Ah, okay, there we go. Perfect. So maybe this is a Tower of Sarenrae or some related thing. Well, insert generic sun god here. Kind of put that, next to the table. No, we'll put it there. Okay. So whoever comes in has to stand there for their pat down. And the guard goes over, searches them. This is assuming they're not trying to barge in and be stealthy and criminal and all that stuff. And then they can progress to the next room, which is basically going to consist of the stairwell and a bunch of doors to everything else in the first floor of the tower. So let's see here. We're going to need quarters. This kind of looks like a good section for that. How wide should this room be, though? Maybe it should be pretty wide, because it's kind of like a centerpiece. Almost like a guest room, even though it has a staircase. Or like a living room. I don't know what you would call a living room in a tower, but you get the idea. Okay, so we will cut that open and have some guard quarters there. It does make sense for the guard quarters to be pretty close to the door because if something happens, they got to be able to rush out. We'll make that a double door as well. Complications could happen if it was a single door, and I think they would have enough foresight for that. Maybe this is a big back storage room. Okay, yeah, we can go with that. So we'll cut this to here. We'll have a door there. A door here. Cut that to be a room. Okay, and then that's the extent of the gigantic storage room. This could be like the storage for the entire tower or some such thing. And maybe we have second quarters, a tower or something. What should go over here? I was kind of thinking like an alchemist slab. You know what? We'll just go with it. It doesn't need to make perfect sense. But the better your map does make sense to your players, or rather, in the context of just thinking about things logically, okay, that should be one door, definitely. But the more it makes sense, the less it's going to detract from the game. So, the way I would think a tower like this would be set up, if there's only, quarters for like 4 guards here, this is probably a wizard's tower and probably no more than 3 floors. Especially if we have an alchemist slab over here. So that's what we're going to go with. Whoa, that's a pretty sweet lab. Okay. One thing you could think about here is, doesn't make sense for there to be an alchemist slab in the first floor. Would a wizard really want to actually come all the way down here for this? And, in my head, the answer to that is actually no. They wouldn't. So, let's make this a guest chamber / secondary room for guards. Or, no. It should be a lounge room for the guards and that kind of thing. Like when they have stuff to do. Maybe this should be the lounge room. One or the other. Okay. Let's start getting some tables down. And, when you're building your maps, you kind of have to just think about these things. Okay. Map layer. Yeah, that's fine. You know what? Even easier would just be to Control-C and Control-V. Copy some of those things. We'll say that this is the quarters, and that this over here is the lounge room. Because, every guard needs to sleep, but not every guard needs to spend their whole day inside of this socializing room. So, in my mind, the bedroom should definitely be larger. Okay, and we'll turn this table. Maybe it's, for having pizza parties or some shit. I don't know. Okay, let's get beds. And we might want some more, kind of tables over here as well. You will notice that I'm kind of building this out for the structure of the building first, before I'm even thinking about possible monsters, if this is like an evil guard dungeon or anything, or maybe there's wizard guardians or that kind of thing, or traps. Because if the building's being constructed and it's being used and slept in, it has to be at least somewhat homey for the denizens of the dungeon, denizens of the building. So the more you can make that make sense for them, actually look like a livable habitat, the more it holds its realism. Yeah, I was kind of repeating the point, but you get the idea. So, not every guard, especially evil guards, are the best at making their beds. Should be 2 squares? Yeah, probably. Slightly closer to 2 than 1. We can have... This should be kind of bland, though. Maybe we'll want to search bunk instead. Let's try that. Saves space, too. Bunk bed. Okay, you know what? We can just reuse this model. Nah, we'll use this one for the actually made beds. Now, if this was a military barracks, of course, those beds would be made properly. Almost guaranteed, because, discipline and order and all that stuff. But for, a wizard's guard, maybe he doesn't give half crap. Maybe he's more like hiring mercenaries than he is regular guards. And, players who walk into this room and see one of the beds not being made could maybe infer something like that. So, tiny details like that can really play an influence. And of course, each guard is probably going to need a tiny chest to put all of his belongings in, so let's go ahead and get some of those. Way too big. At the foot of the bed? Nah, to the side of the bed. You don't want it where people can just, grab all your stuff. So we'll put it in inconvenient locations for everybody else during the night. And that looks pretty good for that. You can also put in more details like chairs, which is probably a good idea. Lighting, you don't necessarily have to worry too much about lighting. You can add torches, but oftentimes it's easy to just kind of describe how the room's lit, and people will get the idea. It's more the things that people would interact with or that would get in people's way that you really have to worry about when you're setting up your maps on these games. Okay, so we'll make that 1 square. 2 chairs. Not too many chairs, of course. I was trying to do Control-C. I was misclicking. Okay, and there we go. And maybe there's some stuff on the table. Which could also drag stuff on top of the table, and maybe we'll do that in a little bit. Let's add some more chairs here. This room needs 3 chairs and a couch. Not sure how the couches were in the Middle Ages, but Not going for perfect realism. It's like you playing a role-playing game and you want perfect realism. Why not just play real life, Oh, that's a pretty good couch. 2-seater, clearly. Now what can they do for entertainment? Pool table, possibly? Pool table seems like a very standard choice. So we'll add that here. Oh, of course they have a pool table. What evil overlord's dungeon would be not complete without a pool table? Or darts or something like that? So it's kind of like a standard bar kind of place. Darts board. Here we go. I knew they had to have one. Now that's too big, of course. We do want players to be able to see it. So I think that's about the right size. And we can call that done for right now. You can probably want to come back and fill in the details for things that should be visible. Like if you have a potion on a table or something like that, you can always, you know, search potion here, add it in. But you should probably put that in when you're kind of filling in your dungeon. Okay, that's an interesting potion bottle. Love potion, really? Okay. Let's try a different one. That's an interestingly shaped item. But yeah, okay, there. We have a potion on the table, and that's pretty clearly visible. Or, you know, papers or anything like that. Paper. This looks good. Of course, got to shrink that down. That's one thing that should be less than a square, and should be half as wide, roughly. So you'll drag that, put it on the table. And now there's some, you know, interesting things for people to look at in here without even having monsters or whatever. And we haven't even written a line of text. We haven't written any DM notes to describe or anything, but you can kind of get how this dungeon's turning out. So we'll fill some stuff in here and add some detail in this main centerpiece, which should be a pretty cool looking room in my opinion. Since it's like the main area where, you know, things kind of open up, I should kind of try to capture their awe a bit. So we want like a gargoyle statue, I think. Let's do that. Okay, cool. Oh, you know what? This looks even cooler. More like a dragon statue. Ooh. Can you imagine? We have this here, and it's that big. Too damn big, though. Too damn big. Yeah, that's about the right size. Now you see shit like this in a tower, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Maybe it's not a wizard, but actually a powerful sorcerer. That would be pretty neat. And what else do we want here? Could also maybe put some patterns on the floor. That could be interesting. Black tile. And you can get people wondering, if you have stuff like this, does it mean anything? Or did he just put it there because he likes black tiles? In this case, it's just because I like black tiles. But they might get the idea like, oh, well, this has something to do with a secret that opens up when you mess with the dragon statue, or if you don't step in them in the right order, the dragon statue blows up. And maybe you maybe do put something like that in there. Or maybe they're just there for fun. Yeah, you don't want to mislead your players too much. But I think that's okay. Let's see here. So, for this room, we need doors, that's one thing. So let's go ahead and copy this door. And that should be facing this direction. Bam, door. Okay. Let's get doors for the other rooms too. We want top-down perspective, so we're going to scroll down. There should be some here. And there we go. Single door. Very nice. Okay, so there's one. There's two. And let's change that around to kind of face the correct direction. And three. Cool. We got all our doors for the first floor. Now, something to keep in mind, this centerpiece basically shows that you can go up or down. Maybe we do just have a basement that is clearly visible, and then a second floor to the tower too. That would be fine. But you do have to think about that when you're including, you know, these pieces, because otherwise it would get really confusing. You know, having the stairs down on the map, but there are no stairs down, so keep an eye out for little details like that. Or big details like that even. Okay, so we're going to need a bunch of different barrels and crates. Let's make them a different brand than the other one, though. Token layer. Yeah, sure. Because they are going to be moving stuff around in this one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, you don't want everything to just be a barrel, obviously. That's pretty damn boring. There is a limit to how much stuff one wizard would need to store. Or one sorcerer. Oh, maybe we have an open crate somewhere. That seems interesting. A chest, yeah, of course there should be some kind of chest. Actually, that's more just, that's a crate. That's not a chest. Okay, and we would definitely hide this from Fog of War until they actually went to investigate it. Maybe have some broken stuff over there by that crate. Could be interesting for a tiny encounter. Like, what's getting inside the crates? Why is it open? It's a good question. Planks? Or what do they call them? Wood pallets? Yeah, sure. But they should be larger than that. We'll have a couple stacked on top of each other in this corner for the heck of it. Shelf. Bookshelves, that kind of thing. Should definitely be maybe some mundane components or something stored around here. Alchemical stuff, a little bit. Nothing too valuable because all the valuable stuff goes upstairs. Okay, and here's a pretty cool looking shelf. Now, I'm just leaving all this on the token layer because it's all things they might move around. And that's fine. As long as it doesn't interfere with you clicking on, the character models who might be, on this square, whatever, it's perfectly fine. Just don't put your tiles like this on the token layer. That's the one big no-no. Otherwise, it gets really ugly. Okay, workbench. Yeah, okay, this kind of looks like a workbench. I want a workbench, I definitely do. Okay. Yeah, and we can do that. And this kind of looks like a work area, so we're going to want a table. And we can say it's the same kind of table. Maybe we don't even put a chair there. No, there should be one chair. One chair. Okay. And we'll put that there. Okay, perfect. Now this is starting to look like a storage workroom type area. Kind of like back of the warehouse type of thing. You know what we do need, though? An armory for guards. So this should be a location for that. Weapon rack. And mannequins. That's the kind of thing we need. Okay. And we can set that up against the wall. Leave some extra space here, and not every little square inch needs to be filled. Mannequin. 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 I can't spell it. Let's see, does armor give it to us? Yeah, I'd say so. Could also represent a golem, but eh. Actually, that is a little bit misleading. Well, I mean, you just tell them, oh, okay, there's an armor mannequin, not moving. Maybe you just tell them you see 2 suits of armor, and they get kind of freaked out. But then they see a third that's not, that has all the armor taken from it. But there's got to be one for every guard at least, I think. Because, I mean, they're not going to just store armor in their chest, are they? Unless it's something that can be stored. And those chests aren't that big either. Armor would take up a lot of space, so they probably don't sleep in the same room with their armor. Okay. Word mannequin. I might actually have to go check the spelling of mannequin. Mannequin. Okay. And I have it right. Okay. Maybe if we just remove that. Oh, the problem might be I'm looking in map styles and textures. Let's try tokens. But I want a wooden one. I want a wooden one that's standing up. Let's see. Come on, come on, come on. Eh. Well, loading on the web. Hooray. You know what? It's not perfect. We can just use this. Make believe with your imagination. There we go. We'll have 5. Let's say 3 of them are currently taken out. You know, maybe 1 guard's patrolling the premises, 1 just has his armor on over here, you know, and then 1 is guarding right there. The other 2 have their armor off. Maybe they're off duty. Or, you know, just don't feel like having their armor on because it's freaking heavy. Okay, what else do we need? Probably a second weapon rack. Like, for ranged weapons or something. This seems alright. No, should be closer to the guards. Okay, yeah, that's fine. No, I would very much believe that they would keep their swords by the beds. This will be more like extra weapons and that kind of thing. And we might put a little bit more detail into that. But, you know, I think this is a pretty damn good start for a first video. For a guard tower, wizard's guard tower. Or just a wizard's tower that happens to have guards. Or a sorcerer's tower. Or maybe a politician's tower even. Whatever the hell you want to use it for. So, I've been Chris, and I hope you found taking a look at this with me to be pretty helpful, at least. I know there may have been a couple points where you had to wait for me to talk there in the video, and, you know, if you made it to this point, thanks for sticking with me. If you are looking for more advice on how to be a good game master, I have an ebook. I just released it the other day. The description has a link to it in the comments. You can pick it up on Amazon for a few dollars. And I also have 250 plot starters for storytellers, and that applies to people who may be writing fantasy novels or people who are role-playing just like me and you. So, aside from that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.